Hey beautiful souls! In today's video, we'll explore compassion. Compassion is often seen as something we give, a way to heal, uplift, or nurture others. But here's the truth, the most perfect compassion doesn't come from what we give. It comes from what we know. When you're certain of who you are, compassion flows naturally. It becomes a way of being. And that's the journey we'll take today, a heart-centered dive into the sacred power of compassion. You'll discover a surprising truth. The more aligned you are with your authentic self, the deeper and more effortless your compassion becomes. I want to share a story from my life about learning this the hard way, and I'll end with a few exercises I try and do daily to nurture compassion. Let's dive in. Once upon a time, when I was in my mid-50s, I found myself juggling a lot. I was a commercial photographer, a stay-at-home dad, an amateur chef, a husband, and I was on a spiritual path. I wore all these hats with pride until I completely burnt out. Life has a way of evolving faster than we realize. One moment I was running a thriving photography studio. The next, I was a stay-at-home dad, working from home before that was the norm. I shifted my focus entirely to my family without noticing I was also shifting away from myself. It felt like rowing in fog, endless effort with no clear direction. Now, if you caught my last video on certainty, you'll know what I mean. I threw myself into what needed to be done, the daily routine, the schedules, the meals, but no matter how much I did, it never felt like enough. Even with praise and thanks, I didn't feel valued or supported. Let me rewind for a second. Photography wasn't just my job, it was my passion. I ran a busy studio where every day was different. It demanded long hours and constant creativity. But I thrived in that environment. I loved the adrenaline. Then came the biggest blessing I couldn't have imagined, our 2 children. My wife Jen and I decided that one of us should stay home with them. Jen is a successful senior executive, so the decision was obvious. I moved my studio into our home, and at first it worked. I shot product photos at night when the kids were sleeping, jewelry, cosmetics, lots of shoes, food, whatever came my way. And during the day, I was all in, driving our daughter to swim practice at 5:30 in the morning, running errands, picking up groceries, and rushing between hockey games and school pickups. The truth is, I was proud to be there for my family. Our daughter became a competitive swimmer, and our son played AA hockey. Today, they're both varsity rowers at university. Being home also allowed Jen to focus on her career, knowing the kids were cared for. As far as cooking, well, I loved cooking. It was my sacred space. When I cooked, the world around me just melted away, taking all its problems with it. But somewhere along the way, I stopped asking, who am I? What happens when my time isn't consumed by their schedules? I used to experiment with my new recipes and take photos just for fun. But slowly those passions faded and burnout crept in. I kept telling myself I'll get to it later, but that later never came. Most people think compassion is about giving, a helping hand, a comforting word, or a sacrificial act. And while those are all beautiful, they're just the surface. True compassion starts within. It comes from knowing your authentic self. Compassion for my kids meant loving them throughout their successes and failures. Compassion for Jen means holding space for her to thrive. But compassion for me? Well, that's where I struggled. Jen would often ask how she could support me. And for the longest time, I had no answer. I just knew I was always tired. I had to learn that compassion isn't just for others. It starts with me. So I began small, picking up my camera again just for fun, trying new recipes, giving myself permission to rest. When I held myself in compassion, my need for perfection dissolved and my heart started to open. Compassion isn't something we do. It's how we live. It's how we show up, not just for others, but more importantly for ourselves. It's about embracing every moment, even the messy ones, with love. Because the only constant in life is change. So embrace it. The more I nurtured self-compassion, the deeper my connection with my family became. Taking care of myself made me more present, more engaged, and more at peace. Compassion, like life, is a journey. It's not a destination. Here are a few exercises I use to cultivate passion. The first one, the mirror of compassion. Stand in front of a mirror, place your hand over your heart, look into your eyes and say, I see you, I love you, I forgive you. This simple practice builds self-compassion, the foundation for compassion towards others. The second exercise is the heart-centered breath work. Take 3 to 5 minutes each morning to breathe consciously. As you inhale, visualize compassion flowing into your heart. As you exhale, feel that compassion radiating outward, starting with you. Breath is the bridge between the mind and the heart. Align them, and compassion flows effortlessly. The third exercise is the practice of gratitude. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every day. Focus on small, personal moments. As gratitude becomes a habit, your heart begins to open, and compassion flows naturally. The fourth exercise I try and do daily is the gift exchange. And this doesn't have to cost anything. Close your eyes and imagine giving a gift to someone or even yourself. Now imagine receiving the same gift back, as if it was always meant for you. This practice reinforces the interconnected nature of giving and receiving, and is a key to perfect compassion. So here's what I want you to take with you today. Perfect compassion isn't about giving more or doing more. It's about becoming so certain of who you are that compassion flows effortlessly from your heart. The more you align with your authentic self, the deeper your compassion becomes, and the more your life becomes a gift to yourself and those around you. Remember, every act of compassion you give, you receive in return. It's not an obligation, it's a blessing. So if this message resonated with you today, I invite you to take it deeper. Hit that subscribe button and join me in the next video where we'll explore joy, the 6th attribute in the Wheel of Wisdom series. And if you feel inspired, share this video with someone who might need a little extra compassion today. Until next time, may your heart be light, your soul certain, and your compassion perfect.